Wednesday, February 12th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. First on the agenda is minutes, and we can do the first two. The third, we have to wait for coordinate. Anybody, actually, we have to wait for all of them because Russ wouldn't have been here for the 19th and the 15th. So we'll move right on.
Courtney wasn't here either.
Well, we'll just, so, okay. Was he here for either of them?
No. Not the 19th or the 15th.
So who do we need, Tommy?
Yes.
Mario.
Mike was here. Yep.
Okay, Jen, we can't do any of those minutes.
I had the 15th and the 19th.
You had them, but we can't do them.
That's okay, that's fine. We'll vote them next week, not a big deal.
Request for continuance under a notice of intent. William and Karen Monroe, 26 and lot 179 Ferry Road, East Falmouth, for permission to install vinyl sheet piling behind the existing revetment at 26 Ferry Road, extending southwest to the existing bulkhead on lot 179, and add boulders on the top of the coastal bank on Ferry Road.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the applicant is requesting continuance until March 19th.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion on the table for continuous? Well,
Aye.
before I do, wait, actually, are there any comments from the audience? Okay, all in favor of the motion on the table, which is continuance to March 19th, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Other business, conservation restriction, Moonicus River. Bob.
I'd like to read something to the board.
How many paragraphs?
It's 4 sentences, 4 very succinct
Succinct sentences.
sentences.
All
It's
right.
part of a letter that was recently sent to the Department of Revenue in connection with their conservation tax credit program. We're pleased to tell you that we've received a letter of eligibility from the state indicating they think that this property on Metaxet Road has conservation value enough to qualify for the limited tax credit that's available each year. And I said to the reviewer, the proposed conservation restriction was drafted in conjunction with the 300 Committee and with the assistance of the Compact of Cape Cod Conservation Trusts. The subject property fronts on the Moonicus River, which flows into Wacoit Bay, which is suffering from nutrient loading. Semicolon. It is partially within a MN Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program Biomap 2 core habitat area and a critical natural landscape area. Is partially within the Wacoit Bay ACEC and the Cape Cod Commission Significant Natural Resource Area. It is almost 100% within statewide land conservation plan. On its street side, it fronts on a designated scenic road, and from the waters of the Moonicus River encompasses a public scenic view. Development of 2 houses will be avoided. The Falmouth Conservation Commission has already issued an order of conditions for construction of a 4-bedroom house with a Title V septic system. And that was on this Lot B. This Lot C is also a buildable lot, which we have never come before the Conservation Commission with respect to. The conservation restriction covers 2.15 acres, extending to salt marsh, and prevents development of these 2 houses, as I said. A little bit of the lot is not included in the conservation restriction area because there's a driveway encroachment and a pole line and some septic system, and I didn't want, the 300 Committee did not want that portion of it, but the effect is that the 2 lots become obviously unbuildable. So we think this is a terrific piece of property for a conservation restriction. Happy that the state apparently thinks so as well, and would appreciate your approval of this and issuance of a municipal certification. Will go to the selectmen with that. The holder of the conservation restriction would be the 300 Committee, and of course the conservation restriction draft, which you have, is presently being reviewed by the state. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Are there any questions? Good evening, Courtney. Anyway, I have a couple of questions, Bob. I was explaining to Russ, because this is his first conservation restriction, that of the boilerplate, the important things are paragraph A, all the things you can't do, and then except for paragraph B, which you can do. And I had a couple of questions in paragraph B. On number 6, the right in conjunction with paragraph B, 3 and 5, to temporarily store timber or vegetated debris originating on the premises. Well, I don't have a problem with that, but I'm wondering if there should be some sort of a time restriction put on that. I think we've done that before, haven't we, Jen?
You mean for a
Like,
period not exceeding?
For a period not exceeding a year or something like that.
You would like to add that?
I'm sure that the state wouldn't have any problem with adding that language.
Yeah.
So why don't you say for not longer than a year?
Yes. And then number 7, I don't have a problem with this either, but it says a public parking area for not more than 4 cars. So the 300 committee will hold this conservation restriction. Are they planning to put a trail from wherever this parking area is going to be to?
No, not at this time. This language was added at my suggestion, and the 300 committee and the compact thought it was a good idea. Although the conservation restriction is being granted without public rights of access,
So that, yeah, that's.
we didn't want to foreclose that possibility that in the future there would be public access. And if there ever were public access, then to have some kind of minimal parking area would make a lot of sense. If we did not put this language in, and in the future public access became available to the property, it would be a difficult process to amend the conservation restriction to add it later. As it is, it requires approval of the grantee, that is the holder of the.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind this at all, but I didn't
Well,
read that
that's
there was public access.
That's the explanation.
Okay, so presumably it's depending on who holds it at some point in the, I mean, the 300 committee holds the CR, but whoever owns the land at some point
Right.
might permit.
Right. Dr. and Mrs. Pildes, who are giving the conservation restriction, own the land to the south where their residence is, but someday they may give the conservation restricted property to the 300 committee, and if they were to do that,
Right.
then there could be public access.
Okay, great. Thanks, those were my only questions. Are there any questions from the audience? Should we have a motion?
Motion to accept
Accept
and approve
What do you
the,
want us to do?
Well, we'd like you to do that and to authorize, I suppose, the administrator to prepare a municipal certification letter.
reflecting Attorney Ahmed's comments, that would be my motion.
Second.
Do you get that, Jen? Any comments? Any comments from the audience? Okay, all in favor of the motion on the table, which is to approve this conservation restriction and have Jen write a letter?
Well,
Whatever.
it's the
needs to be signed
municipal
by-
cert, so I'll have you guys sign that next week.
Right, develop a municipal cert that we sign. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Welcome. Okay.
Bob.
I'm going to go back to the minutes of January 29th. I have a couple of changes.
Yeah, I have a change too.
You want to give yours first?
Yeah, on page 10, Bob, we were talking about the Minot Beach. This is the page, yeah. I think that was
It's
supposed to be Magado, yeah. that's what
Magado.
I was looking at.
Okay, if
And
you
I-
wanna make that change, Russ, you wanna scribble that down and give them
Well,
to me,
I'll give you mine, because I have that one too.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the one I want to change is that Tara said she talked to town council several times,
Yeah, that's.
not town manager. So that should be changed.
did you change that in your draft?
I did change it in my
Okay, I'll
draft.
have Mel, I'll just have Mel make those corrections then.
Yeah, just put a question mark.
Make a motion to accept the order as discussed
Do you
and
have
with the,
any- Sorry, Tom, do you have any more, Russ?
Nope, that was it.
Sorry.
Betsy said.
with the corrections discussed.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion on the table, which is to accept the minutes as discussed, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thanks. Okay, request for determination of applicability. Is anybody here for this? No? Okay, first is Richard Heineck, 7 Beckles Road, for permission to install a gas fire pit, fieldstone seating, and walls. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, the staff has reviewed the project, recommending a -2 into the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not conformed.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second?
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? And for those of you who don't know the process, a negative determination means they can go ahead with what they've requested. Okay. All in favor of the motion on the table, which is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Nancy Anderson, 246 Mill Road, Falmouth, for permission to construct a new front entrance, walkway, and to install the required native mitigation plantings.
Yes, Madam Chairman, again, the staff is recommending a -2 into the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not conformed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have 2 motions and a second. Are there any questions from the audience? All in favor of the motion on the table, which is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Susan Lord, 169 Metoxet Road, Wacoit, for permission to pump, fill, and abandon the existing cesspool and to install a new Title V sewage disposal system.
Yes, Madam Chairman, we are recommending a -2 into this bylaw, -3 into the state with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. David and Karen Howe, 55 Vineyard Street, East Falmouth, for permission to replace an existing paved driveway with shelves, remove 2 decks and an outside brick oven, construct a second-story deck, reconfigure the existing patio, and to remove trees.
Yes, Madam Chairman, we're recommending a -2 into the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
I have a question. Are these trees that have fallen?
One second, Madam Chairman. No.
Are these trees that have to be,
Remove for the second.
or are there any trees being replaced?
Wait a minute, not a second. Trees to be removed? No. They're not all done. What would you like, the trees to be replaced?
Well,
What?
if there's a reason, what's the reason the trees are being removed?
How many trees was it, Jeff?
One second. Just says tree removal, does not explain why. And Mark didn't leave any notes on why they are removing the trees.
Well, I'd
So,
prefer to continue this then, until we can find out.
okay,
I mean, we
Mr.
can't,
Santos? Can you ask for a continuance if you don't mind, Tim? The RDA and your.
unless you can
guys did
answer
the
this
plan.
question.
For the record, Tim Santos, I'm gonna say representing the applicant.
But you have no idea what
But I
it
have
is.
no idea, 'cause it's not my
Representing
project.
Holmes and McGrath.
Representing Holmes and McGrath.
There you go.
If you look at the plan, the trees are in the, what I'm gonna call like the northwest corner. They're in the flood zone only, and they're over 150 feet away from any of the resource areas. I'm not quite sure why they wanna remove them, just noted on the plan.
Well, Tim, we just happened to have a meeting today with the planning board about the importance of developing resiliency along our coast. And part of the effort in developing resiliency is to have woody vegetation.
I understand your concern, but, there is a road between this property, the
Yeah, but-
resource areas.
The road has nothing to do with the function of the tree below the surface of the,
I understand, I'm just letting you know where the trees are located. Obviously, if the trees are located in the A or B zone, they would be replaced, as far away as possible. Like I said, it's not my project, I'm here trying to answer a question for you.
Tim, would you ask for
Yeah,
a continuance
yeah.
until
ask for a
next week, and
continuance.
we
I
can
don't have a
flush out
problem
Jeff?
that these trees might be inconvenient where they are, but trees in the flood zone
I haven't
play a
been to
role.
the site, so I don't know if they're, if they're ornamental trees, if they're trees of value. So
Right.
I will ask for, are you meeting next week? Yes?
Yes.
You want a 1 week, you want 2 weeks?
No, you can just
No,
give what
Mark
the
can ask
explanation is.
Jeff. Jeff prepared the RDA, so sure Mike will come in.
Guns a-blazing?
Yeah,
Mike will be
next
here.
week.
Mike will be here
ne-
next
well,
week.
We know Mike's coming next week, so. That's fine.
Actually, Raoul's next week.
So on behalf of the applicant, I'd
On
like
behalf of
to,
the applicant, I
I'd like to-
request a
Poor
continuance.
Rob.
I'd like to propose this to be continued to next week.
Could I have a second?
Second. Is there a motion already on the table
There's a,
to approve? Something.
There was,
we've taken that motion back.
So I believe I'm the one that made the motion, so I'll withdraw it, one motion.
Yep.
I'll withdraw my
I
second.
think there were two motions, actually.
Yes, I just
Well,
move
so
that
all
we keep things in order.
All former motions on this project are canceled. There's a motion and a second on the table to continue to next week. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Are you getting ready?
Getting ready.
I haven't announced it yet. Request for hearings under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are heard simultaneously under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. First hearing tonight is Joan Murray, 9 North Forns Pond Road, East Falmouth, for permission to address violations of a former wetlands permits that includes resource area buffer restoration by the removal of non-native ornamental plants, installation of native trees and shrubs, and the associated clearing, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I do not have any questions or comments at this time.
Tim, it's lovely to see you here tonight.
Good evening.
Floor is yours.
For the record, Tim Santos representing the applicant. The property is located at 9 North Barnes Pond Road in East Falmouth. The resource areas are within 100 feet of the property, are land under the ocean. Salt marsh, coastal bank, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. The property is developed to an existing single-family home. Back in 1981, this board issued an order of conditions for the construction of the property. Back in 2005, an RDA was issued for vista pruning. well as some removal of some vegetation around the house and trees that were planted by the owner. Recently, the estate has been looking at the property because they're in the process of trying to sell it. When the research was done, it was noticed that there was no compliance on the property. So our office had met with staff on site to review what needed to take place in order to satisfy the staff of compliance. What we have is approximately 1,190 square feet of restoration plantings. The palette of the restoration plantings is shown on the plan, as well as the addition of 5 trees. I believe under the 2005 RDA, which included vista pruning as well as the removal of some trees, the owner had planted, I believe it was 10 trees. At the time, staff agreed that they could remove half of them, and all of them were removed. So what we're trying to do here is clean up the orders that are outstanding so the estate can move forward with selling the home and have a clean invoice, I guess, for lack of better terms. So we met with staff, staff's satisfied and happy with what we've done, and we thank staff for meeting us on site. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them.
Staff, do you have any questions?
No, but I'm going to recommend a single rail fence along the edge of that buffer. So don't be surprised if you see that in the orders from OPEB. Some way to demarcate where that is.
On other projects, we placed the
You can do the bounds.
bounds.
I know lately, not a big fence, but one of those single rails. They're only about that high.
As long as
Along
there's,
the base, so they're not, it's not visually intrusive, something like that, to just mark the boundaries. I see that Kevin has a question.
I just wanted to, for the record, Kevin Clower from Falmouth Law Firm. I'm here with Tim tonight, and applicants in this matter are in the audience as well. With regards to the single rail fence, the buffer zone really comes up very close to the house, and I didn't know if that would actually become an issue in installation of the fence. So I think the bound, okay.
The issue is, if there are no bounds there and it's near the house, it's easy to start weed whacking it away.
Well, that's, I think we'd be happy to do the bounds. I just think that the single rail fence would be difficult given the proximity.
Yeah,
in
we
the
don't-
corner of the house,
We
so
don't
that would be-
require a specific way to mark it, but it has to be an acceptable
well,
way to mark
that's
it.
why I was asking for the option.
Yeah.
I'm picking out how it's marked, as long as it's marked.
Russ, any questions?
Jim, you went out there, Jen, and you were comfortable with how those trees were planted? Seemed like they were awful tight in that one side.
They are a little tight, but they'll be okay.
No, what I'm going to recommend, I talked to Mark about this, I'm going to recommend that
We move
either
it
you or
around.
Mark will go out there and cite exactly where they're going to be.
To be honest with you, the location on this plan,
Yeah,
where Mark put his foot, we put a blue ribbon, a pink ribbon, and the crew went back out and located them. So these trees that are shown on this plan are in the exact spot that Mark requested.
well, that may be,
Yeah.
but what I'm going to recommend is,
Before
when
the
you're
trees
ready
are
to plant the
installed,
trees, when you have the trees and you're ready to plant them,
Call Mark.
call Mark and have him go out.
Understood.
Because we saw your stakes, you know, we were out there, saw your stakes.
I'm just stating that
Seems like a
we
little bit
met
close
Mark
to the-
on site and we put him exactly where he said.
I know, well, you may have put them, and he may have been happy with them at the time, but we stood under the trees.
I understand, that's fine.
You know what, we'll put a condition that when the trees are installed,
Yeah.
the conservation agent be on site.
Right. And also any,
Doesn't really matter where they're marked.
right, all that all the mitigation planning will be
We've seen
holes
plans.
dug in
As long as
the
it's
lawn.
Nicely laid out and
Right.
also into the woods, so it's better if we're on site anyway.
Mike?
I guess my comments don't mean much after this, but you show three,
Of course they
well,
mean
you show
something.
3 symbols and 8 tree locations, and I wasn't sure where tree is going where. So if you're gonna go out and type it, the conversation doesn't mean much, so, all right. I'm happy.
You really surveyed right where Mark put his foot?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Well, we're gonna have to tell Mark to be more careful.
Yeah, we're gonna come our wider.
Yes.
I'm thankful for staff for going out and don't be intimidated by this. Having the agent out there when things get planted, it should move compliance that much quicker. It's nice to have that available to you, particularly if you want to clean things up and expedite this. I think that's, even though it sounds intimidating or something, don't let it. It'll be fine. That's it.
No questions.
Okay. Do we have,
A motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Second.
okay, any questions from the audience? Okay, hearing none. This means that this is over and we'll issue an order of conditions. So, all in favor of the motion on the table, which is to close this hearing and take it under advisement, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? So we actually didn't vote it yet, we're just closing it, but we'll vote next week or the week after, and then issue the order of conditions. Okay. You're welcome.
Night, Tim.
Thank you.
Night, Kevin.
Have a nice weekend, Tim.
Good night, Mark.
Few of you can't leave yet.
Just you two now.
Now the meeting should get interesting. Continued request for hearings under a notice of intent. Shanklin Family Real Estate Trust, 663 Minot Road, East Falmouth, for permission to create a 20-foot wide construction access, rebuild, repair, and elevate the existing 195 feet linear foot stone seawall by 2 feet, construct a 4-foot wide private access stairs to the seawall, construct a 3-foot by 4-foot public access stairs, add 125 square feet stone mound retaining wall, replant vegetation removed by access construction, install beach grass in an eroded area, and the associated clearing, grading, excavating, and landscaping. Thanks, Matt. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, you should all be looking at a plan dated.
Are we getting it right now?
Revision date of 2/3/14.
It's a reduced color version, just to follow along easier.
Oh,
Yeah, landscaping today, and the only difference between those plans and the plans you received before was just an extended area of beach grass that the staff had asked to be put on the plan.
good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. For the record, Matt Cross, representing
Colored one.
the applicant. Oh.
He has two for you.
Before you start all your spiel, what was the revision date?
2/5.
Thank you.
So, we're here tonight for 663 Minot Road. Property is located at the corner of Minot and Central Ave. Property fronts on Vineyard Sound. We have an existing licensed seawall that's outlined on the plan that we're proposing to rebuild, and we're proposing to do some additional landscaping and planting along with that seawall construction. We're proposing to, in order to access the site to rebuild the seawall, we're proposing to come through the area that appears to be a road layout area along the extension of Central Ave. You can see that noted on the plan as an existing path there, and there's going to be some temporary disturbance that we're proposing there. Now, this project has a bit of a history to it. A few years back, there was a order of conditions that was issued for a fence that runs right along the lawn in the existing Rosa Regosa. Cars crash into this property a lot, so they had proposed to put a fence in years ago, and they did that, but they did not receive a certificate of compliance. So as part of this application, we have requested that certificate of compliance. Additionally, I think about 10 years ago, they also proposed a very similar project to rebuild the seawall. And that time, they actually licensed the existing seawall. But they proposed to rebuild it and access the site the same way that we're doing now. They never did that work. Order conditions was issued. The work wasn't done, so as part of this filing, to clean things up, we requested a certificate of compliance for that work. But this is, with regard to rebuilding the seawall and accessing the site through that road layout area, this board, made up of similar peers, has approved this type of project before. I did meet with the town engineering department to review that, and to review the access area and what we were going to do with the project, and I included in part of the notice of intent application an email from Peter stating that they didn't have any concerns with it. This project is located in natural heritage, endangered species area. We did file with ESP, and we did receive a letter that you should have in your file stating that this project will not adversely affect any of the resource areas. So they're happy with things too. So getting back to the work that we're proposing right now, and that is to rebuild that seawall in its existing footprint in accordance with the license plan. We're also proposing to build a stone mound retaining wall. You'll see it referenced on the plan. It's about 125 square feet. This retaining wall is located in the velocity zone, so we kept it under 200 square feet. And the purpose of this is to accomplish a couple of things. If you look closely on the plan, you see this existing concrete wall right here. Now, if you've been out there, it's way out of place. It's about 2 feet high. It sticks up there. We don't actually know when it was built, but it was a while ago. And what's been happening is storm surge has been getting redirected off of this wall and start scouring this bank up here. And we're proposing to replant that area with beach grass there and remove this concrete portion of this wall and rebuild that all as part of the stone mound seawall. So we're going to fix that problem there. The reason we're going to add this retaining wall over here is to help protect that area during storm surge and then help establish the beach grass plantings that we're doing on one side, and then we're proposing to plant additional Rosa rugosa on the other side to match up with the existing vegetation that's there to help stabilize that whole area. Because right now it's kind of a highway for people that like to walk across this property and they don't follow the mean high water line. They actually will come right across through the property when the Shanklins aren't here, which the Shanklins don't mind. But they come through here and they'll trample over the beach grass, and then that just creates further erosion issues. So part of the application, we're going to realign some stones that exist there and create little steps here. So people can get up on the wall, get over it. It's really a jetty or revetment if you've been out there. Get over it and get down to the beach so that they'll have access through here. So that's the proposal in a nutshell. And I prepared a long narrative that went through each of the regulations. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Matt. Jen? No questions? Court?
Oh, I do have one question. Matt, you put in separate requests for those two COCs, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Is this, I'm not clear, this is a right-of-way this land is owned by the town of Falmouth, right down to the,
That's
that's part of
actually
the street?
a bit of a gray area. And reviewing with the engineering department looked at it with town council, and the road taking for Central Ave didn't actually include that area. It's listed in assessors as owners unknown right now. So we're treating it like it's town property, and including the engineering department
And if you're treating it as town property, do you have any kind of documentation that allows you to do this work?
yes, from the engineering department. And the work had been approved before.
What's our
Do
protocol?
you mean like a license to go on the property? Well, we
Well-
don't know who the owner is, Courtney.
Huh?
We don't
If
know who
if
the
it were
owner is.
town property, they would have, if we knew it were town property, we would have a condition that they would have to get permission from the
And
Board
that
of
would have been
Selectmen.
discussed with Peter.
So how do we deal with this?
It's owner's unknown, Court, so,
So
I
does that
mean,
give-
we assumed it was ours.
I mean, from a
I'm really
surveying
concerned
Well, if
because
it's
I-
not the town, it's probably, at least to the midline, are the people who own this lot.
I think Betsy's onto something there, that the fee ownership would extend to the center line of that way in the event the way was abandoned. So that's possible that their actual fee ownership extends to the center line right now.
Yeah, I mean, this only speaks to concern of putting a binding order of conditions on it. It's not, does not speak to the validity of the project. And I just have a concern about this, and I'm trying to be consistent with what we've done in the past when you have work that's proposed that isn't on the property of the owner. Do you see?
Well,
And
here's what.
I don't care how
Here's
it's
what we've been
resolved.
advised by town council. If Matt represents this as ownership, either of these people or of the town, then we can make a finding that we had a discussion on this, but this is what's being presented in front of us as far as ownership,
Okay.
and just to move ahead.
And we have a letter from the town
We have an
engineer.
email from Peter that says the engineering department doesn't have any concerns. So if a license were to be required, they would.
Well, if you're comfortable with it, if the rest of the commission is comfortable with it,
I've talked to
then
Matt
I'm
about the
comfortable with it.
ownership of this.
Yeah,
I talked to Peter about the ownership of
Yeah,
it.
we did a lot of behind-the-scenes work before we got here.
but I mean, you make a finding, plan to
Yeah,
make a
I'm putting it
finding
right down
that,
on his
and,
own.
but that you have researched to the best of your ability. It's either the town, but there's no record that the town has it, or it's the person adjacent to the private road, if it's a private road.
So when we issue an order, how does the order, with whom is the order registered? Just the owner?
Well, we're gonna register it to 663 Plymouth Road, because the wall is that's just the access point to the wall and planting. Most of the work is being done on the Shankland's property
Okay.
itself. So that's what we will record the order on, is that property.
However, it doesn't bode well that they didn't come in for a certificate of compliance
On what?
on the fence, when this certificate of
Well,
of compliance
be-
is gonna require replanting.
Understood, and to be absolutely fair to Mrs. Shanklin, Mr. Shanklin, who was an engineer, had handled all of these prior projects, and he passed away after that fence was done. So there was a gap there, and
Yeah, and she
follow
probably
through.
didn't even know what had to be
Had
done.
no idea.
Okay. Anything else? Tom?
Yeah, I was wondering why it was on that side, but I like the explanation. I can deal with it. The equipment at the top, we have, do you know who the contractor is?
They haven't settled on one yet, but
Okay.
Billy Benito was nice enough to give us feedback on this project.
Okay. I just would want appropriate site stewardship of the machinery while it's parked up there. That would be, any kind of hydraulics. I'm sure there'd be a boilerplate addressment of that.
There's a very exposed site, too. There's,
Yeah, I drive by it all the time. And that was about it. The removal of that piece, go with God on that. It's just, why it was there, I don't know.
It's going to make a much better situation.
Yes, it will. And I like the steps going down for public access. It's going to take a while for people to break old habits.
Well, hopefully the Rosa Rugosa will help that out.
And yes. So that's all I got.
Mike?
No questions?
So that's it. Excuse me.
That's okay.
That's a step up onto that revetment, the public access you have?
Yes.
Okay, and then the other side, they've got a stairway going down the revetment. Isn't that make it a little tough to get down?
No. The sand pile is up in the corner of the revetment, so you can step right up on it. Those stairs that we're proposing,
Yeah.
those are private access stairs for the Shanklins. Who
Right, I
actually go
understand
up
on that side,
one
I'm talking on the other side, the public ones you're providing.
You don't need a step on the other side. It's already there. The sand comes right up to it, right in this corner.
Okay, but
You can
right
walk
here,
up here.
this is the steps you're proposing.
You can walk up on it
Yep,
and step right down on the beach.
but you're still proposing stairs on that side,
Yeah, you need
on
a,
the north side of that.
yeah, it's about 24-inch.
Right. Well, I've
Inches
been there, so I was just curious, because it doesn't look like it's gonna be that easy of to navigate through that.
A couple properly placed stones will definitely help that out.
But that's outside, right, what you were proposing to do?
No, we're proposing those steps.
Okay.
The steps are
The steps, yes.
Yeah,
And
they're-
then,
constructed by replacing existing stones.
mm-hmm. Okay.
I have a bunch of questions. You'd be disappointed if I didn't, right? And Mike certainly would be disappointed. He'd feel that he was the only one who ever got picked on.
Oh,
My first,
we've graduated to picking on now? I thought it was just
well, that's what
questions.
he calls it. I'm not picking on you, though.
Not yet, not yet, we'll tell you.
The licensed seawall, did it give a height?
Did the license give a height?
Yeah, are you proposing to make this higher than
Yeah, we're
the
going to
prior
be,
seawall?
yes. We're going to be about 2 feet higher than it exists today, and it's going to be about a foot higher than what was called out on the license plan.
There might be a problem with that.
Okay,
Because it's,
explain.
well, the problem is, we don't allow additional, you know that if this were not protected with the seawall, it couldn't be protected with the seawall.
It actually says right in FWR regulations that when you're constructing these structures in a velocity zone, to raise it 2 feet for compensation of sea level rise.
To raise, I've
That's-
never seen,
That's right in
a
my...
house has to be raised 2 feet so the water can flow through the columns underneath. I've never seen that a coastal bank, would be raised.
This isn't a coastal bank. It's a stone mound seawall. It's
Well-
not a naturally occurring landform.
But they're referred to as coastal banks. We refer to them as coastal banks regularly if there's a riprap between the land and the sea. So I'm just saying,
I mean, when I write the narrative, you look at it, I go right through the regulations and sometimes copy and paste the actual regulations. And that was one of those items right there. And
I know
we
in
did it
the
on a pier
velocity zone, you go up
recently.
higher, but that's talking about building structures up higher. It's not talking about building revetments along the coast.
Well, the revetment's a structure. We just did it with a pier. We raised the pier up a little bit. There was a foot.
That's to allow water to go through. This isn't preventing water from going through. We'll talk about that. And the other issue I have, and this is a major issue, is your little purple wall there to keep people from going through.
I heard you didn't like it.
Did you hear I didn't like it? I'll tell you what I would be willing to let you do. You already have rocks there.
Tell Matt I don't like the little holes.
Did I say that? Is that what I said?
Yes, let him know I don't like the little wall, okay?
If it's a
Well, I
matter,
want you to be happy, so we're gonna work with you here.
I'll let you rearrange rocks that are already there, but I don't want you bringing any additional rocks.
Okay,
Is that what you were proposing to do?
essentially, yeah.
Essentially, but not quite?
Well, we're gonna need to bring in some rocks for this existing seawall.
For the
that's here.
seawall?
Yeah. There's rocks scattered about this area over here, if you look.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you were planning to take the concrete capped wall down.
Yeah, that thing's a problem.
Yeah, well, I don't mind that goes.
See, we're making things better.
You are. But I'll have to think about it. But we may not allow you exactly what you want there.
Well, I'm usually very, very careful not to bring you guys a project that doesn't meet your regulations, and I can't find anything in here that doesn't meet the regulations.
Yeah, but well, actually, I don't know if you remember, but we have had seawalls and we have not allowed people to increase the heights of the seawalls. And I can think of one in particular at,
We'll be happy to stick to the license height.
I think that would be in your
That's the
best
problem.
interest, because I think in deliberation, to be totally honest with you, that the composure of the board and I'm just telling you that I think that would be a very tough sell to go further than what's licensed right now.
Sure.
and given that that's what we've permitted, that's what we're being consistent with what we've done in other,
And I think that'll end up being a finding in the order.
That's absolutely fine.
I mean, the project's gonna go forward, they,
Yeah,
So-
that's absolutely fine.
I understand.
and you did do a good job on it. He came
Thank-
to us,
thank you,
he
Jen.
back to us, went step by step through the regulations, he was looking for.
yeah,
it.
this is a nice project and it'll be better.
It's no.
I mean, they're in a
fault, we
very,
don't know
they
who
must
owns
realize
that
they're in a
parcel
very
down there.
vulnerable
Cars crash into.
spot.
This is a very unique piece of property, and they've
Yeah,
owned
it's a-
it since the 30s, and they want to protect it.
Yeah, it's a great house.
Oh, I love
Do we, that was all, those were the two.
That's not so bad, see?
What do you mean, see? I could have told you it wasn't gonna be too bad. Mike,
For my own edification, if you keep it in the footprint and were to raise the top, you'd be making the face steeper?
yeah, it's gonna, I mean, Russ and I were talking about that when we were out there. I mean, there are places that it's gonna be a little bit wider, that it has to be, because you're gonna be putting toe stones in.
Yeah.
But basically, it'll be about like that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, we have to file what's called a minor modification with the Army, with Chapter 91, Division of Waterways, and they limit us to 10% variation from the plan, so we're going to be very consistent with where it goes.
Yeah, both laterally and horizontally.
Well, vertically, I haven't really run into that issue before.
Unfortunately, you won't on this one either.
And I won't, so we'll have to wait till next time.
Yes,
there you go.
make a motion to close and take it under advisement.
Second.
Okay, any more questions? Mike, any questions from the audience?
I do have a question.
Well, you have to come up and tell us who you are.
I have a question because I'm a competitor, and I'm curious.
But you have to tell us who you
Well,
are.
my name is Michael Porcelli.
Right,
And
a
I'm
friendly,
a resident.
a friendly competitor, comma.
And I may have a job like this in the future, and I want to understand why is it that if Chapter 91 licenses the structure, and you propose to relicense it, rebuild it in the same license footprint, but maybe slightly taller because you've learned about wave run-up, overwash, scour, sea level rise, and it might be a good thing to slightly raise it while you're in there in a wetland resource trying to fix it. Why is that a bad thing? I just thought
I
it
would
would be.
encourage you to do something behind the top of it to deal with the scour. And you actually had
Yeah.
one like that,
Right,
the one,
but there's
what was that, Davis, what was that called?
Dave's
something-
Neck Road,
Davis Neck Road.
yeah.
Yes.
It's just, you think it's bigger, it's too much to go higher? I mean, I don't
Well,
think
You know, again, it's getting to this question of coastal resilience. You go higher and higher, and you put more and more, I mean, what people would like to do is put more and more walls. I mean, this is a wall that's been there, it's been repaired through the years, but you put more and more walls, you get them higher and higher, and it's like I said, we're gonna have Hadrian's Wall all around Falmouth.
Okay, I understand, I was just curious.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion, we haven't taken a vote yet, right?
No. But we do have a motion to close and take it under
And
advisement.
a second.
Yes.
Motion and second on the table to close and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. See, don't you wish you were with us more often?
Always a pleasure.
I knew that,
Thanks for the meeting
Yeah.
plan, that was nice. Really easy.
all right, what are you here for, Mike? You must be here for, oh, you missed us. You just came to watch. No, I know you watch on TV instead. Robert and Maura McCormick, what? 93 T-Ticket Path, East Falmouth, for permission to construct a 4-foot by 99-foot fixed pier that includes 10 10-inch pilings, 4 6-inch by 6-inch posts, 2-inch by 6-inch handrails, decking, stringers, yokes, cross-bearing, water and electric service, steps, and the associated clearing, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we continue the hearing, so I'd like to make some slight modifications to the plan, to show me where the water and electrical service is coming in off the upland, to make a path from, the lawn area to the proposed dock, to add railings along that side of the pier to
Both sides.
install railings on both sides to discourage more and multiple boats on in there. And a note to clean up the debris on the coastal bank.
Quorum?
That, thank you.
What? Oh,
Oh,
quorum.
quorum. It's, all of you.
And just as a-
Missing me.
As a point of order on the
Betsy,
previous,
Russ, Tom, Court.
Yeah.
on the previous one, did we have a quorum?
Yes, that's you,
Just saying,
Tom.
Yeah.
all right, I just want to make sure.
We hadn't opened that one, Courtney. It's all 5 of us. The
Yeah,
previous
right.
one we hadn't opened before.
That's right, it was continued,
Yeah.
okay. But this one was open.
This was open and we have 4 of us here.
Excellent.
So what? What
So-
goes next? Should somebody offer a motion?
To close.
If you think you have enough information, if you need me to elaborate more on what Jen summarized quite efficiently,
I think the plan clearly,
speaks for itself.
Seeing how the plan clearly indicates all the adjustments that we had asked for, I'd like to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
all in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
You talked more at the last hearing, Mike.
Well,
It wasn't even your hearing.
I get paid by the word, so I wanted to
Oh,
You mean not by the paragraph?
William and Karen Monroe, 26th and Lot 179 Ferry Road, East Falmouth, is continued to March 19th.
Yeah.
Correct.
Other business. We have a couple of things for other business that you might be interested in. Jen, we'll start off with you.
Okay, so land subject to coastal storm flowage, we are going to start looking at the regulations. You all got the email I sent you the other day. Basically, this is gonna be a 2-step process as outlined in my email. The first step is we need to incorporate the new FEMA maps into your regulations. The town would like to remove it from the zoning bylaw and place it within the town's regulatory framework. We're gonna keep it solely within the Conservation Commission, so there's not multiple boards and committees overseeing land subject to coastal storm flowage. This is something that the town planner, the building commissioner, myself, are gonna be working towards. So they do wanna take it out of the zoning bylaw. Since this board already regulates the flood zone, will continue to regulate the flood zone, you will be the sole regulatory authority over the flood zone, besides the building commissioner under the state building code. So the first step is the edits that I did send you, and that is just cleaning up the language. We can no longer just say the most recent map, FEMA maps. We have to actually list out the panels, so that was done, and that's the edits that you saw in the email I sent you the other day, also cleaning up flood zones that no longer.
And who
will
did
no
those
longer
edits,
exist.
CCM?
What?
Who did the edits, CCM?
It was a combination of Brian Curry, the town planner, and, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, the people working through with DCR, with the, FEMA people.
Okay,
That's part one. That needs to happen before a town meeting, because if we
Before
don't
April
get
town
this-
meeting?
Yes, if we don't get this approved and voted on, they will need to amend the zoning bylaw. These have to be adopted by July, and the town would like them adopted before town meetings, so they don't have to go to town meeting to amend the zoning bylaw.
okay, so what I suggest is, we can't do it next week.
No, and I need to put it in the paper.
But the
I
week
want you
after
guys-
next,
Yeah.
the week after next, we have a hearing.
Well, I want to send it out to all the engineers, a with explanation of what we're doing, and we have to put it in the Falmouth Enterprise.
But then you have to draw up a time thing, but then we have a 2-week period for public comment. Is it a 2-week period or 1-week period? Anyway, there's a defined period for public comment, and then we put it on for another meeting to talk about.
We'll just carry it over to next week, and I'll give you an update of where we are. I'll talk to Tad on the timeframe that we
Okay.
have to keep it open for public comment.
Okay, let's put together the time frame.
Yep, okay, I'll do that, and we'll just keep it on the agenda for next week, and I'll report back with a timeframe on that,
Okay,
okay?
and don't go away because
No,
because
so
there's a
part
second,
two.
a part 2 also, court.
So, if I can understand that what the document that you placed in front of us and sent us
Yes,
with the edits, if we adopt that, those edits as proposed, with maybe a couple of minor edits of the edits, which I'm gonna
yeah,
come to in a second, then that would be phase 1, and that would satisfy the immediate concerns. And then the next step is that we would look at the substance of the rest of it.
yeah.
Correct.
That would
Okay.
satisfy
Okay.
the concerns
So
of adopting that.
that's question 1. Now I have an edit.
We'll give that to Jen.
All right.
We don't have to discuss your
Yeah,
edit.
you can just tell me the edits tomorrow or something like that.
Okay, I'll
or-
give it to you now, afterwards.
Okay, that's fine.
It's just
Okay, so
one
Mike,
brief
So
there
then-
there are 2 parts to this. One is, we have to get it in our regulations, the new maps. And so this is just changing our regulations, so instead of saying D 1 through 30, blah, blah, which don't exist anymore, we put what does exist. And there are some references in our now to zones we don't even have in Falmouth, so those are going to be eliminated. That's part 1. And then part 2 is doing the whole substance of land subject to coastal storm flowage. But there's a caveat to part 2, and that is Jen and I just had a meeting. The planning board is doing a sort of a town-wide, what's it called, Jen?
Coastal resiliency,
Yeah, but what's the big thing that it's for?
local comprehensive plan.
Local comprehensive plan, and there's going to be a new section called coastal resiliency, And so we met with them today because they need to come up with sort of a big goal. That's why we were queens. We were helping them develop a big goal. And,
That's why I was late, I got my ears bent on that.
oh, okay, in a couple of weeks, we're gonna have a meeting, we being conservation and planning, to talk about what mechanisms does the town have to achieve this big goal. And one of the mechanisms is, and the bottom line of the big goal is that we want to have our natural systems as healthy as possible and as resilient as possible, be able to bounce back from storms, while recognizing that this is a town that's been occupied for 350 years and people do things on the coast and so forth, so there's a balance. And so, so we want to have some of those meetings with the planning board before we get to the specifics of how we could change our land subject to coastal storm flowage. And so one of the hearings, I think you were here, I think, yeah, that Tim commented on, he said, well, those are just trees and land subject to coastal storm flowage. If it had been, and I said, well, actually, that's just one of the things that came up. I said, one of the things we should be thinking about is how to make all these areas more resilient. So,
But I do
Yeah.
want the board to start thinking of some of the changes.
And-
if
and-
any,
and
or
you-
revisions.
and your colleagues,
Yes.
Yes, and I'll send that to
The
Lyle.
phase one part that you're talking about,
Right.
which is basically referencing the new maps, I think.
Yes.
correct.
When will,
I'll send that to you
when do you
tomorrow.
expect that to be in the new regs? Doesn't,
Well, it'll be, we
By
expect it to be in before April.
but they don't really take effect until.
Oh, no.
They'll be in effect, we have to vote them.
We will
by-
vote them, but they'll be in effect as to whenever the date is, June,
That's-
July,
July
whatever.
I'm glad, Madam
So
Chair,
you're kind of anticipating that that's gonna happen in June and July and setting up your regs ahead of time, so when they are adopted,
Yes.
it'll be already in place.
Correct.
But we don't have to go by the new maps with you until they're adopted.
And-
Absolutely, there'll be a
Because there's
date.
differences in elevation, obviously, that you know about.
Yep.
That aren't really effective until town meeting. So you can't really be looking at, something that's an A12.
Well, see, town meeting isn't gonna be involved.
we're trying to circumvent that.
No, I know,
We're
but I'm
trying
just
to-
talking about when you're gonna have new reference maps in your regs before town meeting actually adopts them, and they
No,
may.
town meeting's not gonna involve, town meeting will not be adopting them. We're adopting them into our regs.
No, but I'm talking about.
Period of time.
Adopting the actual new maps townwide.
They don't adopt them, do they?
They're not gonna be in the zoning, they're not gonna be
It
in the
won't be a
zoning
zoning.
bylaw.
No, I know, but
How-
they take effect in
Yeah,
June
how
or July,
that-
right?
Right, and that's
Well-
what,
16th, I think, isn't it?
17th, but
July 16th,
I'm-
July 17th.
any changes we make isn't saying we're going by these new maps now. It's gonna say we're going by the new maps, the date that they
That's
take
what I was
effect
trying to-
according to
That's what I was trying to say.
CZM.
Right.
Yeah.
As an example, if I have a project that's in A11, elevation 11 today,
Right,
and it's gonna be in A13 when the new maps take effect,
correct.
you
can come in.
can't tell us to make the first floor
That's
the
right.
new elevation until the maps are real.
Right.
Not that, it would be
Except-
short-sighted not to do it,
Except,
but,
exactly, and that's what I said. People are lucky that we added a couple of feet, because now they're not gonna have to go back and not meet the requirements.
yeah.
They're gonna be able to get
it would be,
flood insurance.
it would be short-sighted not to think about them, but you can't really officially enforce those new maps.
Absolutely,
Some people are gonna ignore them, by the way, because they don't have flood insurance. They don't need flood insurance, and they don't wanna
That's
be
not-
as high.
That's not our issue.
No, it isn't, but I'm just
Right.
saying, that's, it's
They want to
prudent
build-
to,
they
if you're
want-
building, to think in terms of what's about to happen in the next few
Correct.
months. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, no,
But you're right, we can't have people have to conform to that until those have an
Yes.
effective date. And that
Yes.
effective date will be part of we're adopting.
Okay.
And-
And then the meetings that you're talking about having for the local comprehensive plan about the coastal resiliency, are those
Right.
gonna be held at like planning board, regular meetings, or are they
No,
daytime
those
meetings?
are held as almost like at a staff level.
So they're not like public meetings?
Well, yeah, but there will be a public meeting that's either on a Monday night or on a, when do they meet? Tuesday night.
But there'll be like working sessions for staff before
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But those are public meetings.
Mhm.
Yes.
And,
Oh, yeah.
this is all interesting and wonderful to read. I'm not 100% sure that the July 17th, with some of the things that I've heard about this FEMA map being accepted, our own state legislators are banting around extending this.
Well, that's what I say. I
And-
think it's best to put language in
So that,
that says when it's been adopted by whoever has to adopt it at the state level.
outstanding.
Yeah. Okay, second thing is, next week, there's homework for next week. I know all of you love homework.
We do.
Okay, and so, what you should be reviewing for next week are coastal beaches, coastal banks, and we have a report from our consultant on a project that's next week, so you should review that. And,
Russ, I will get you a copy of that report. I don't think you have it.
you sent it to us.
Oh, I did. Oh, I
From
sent
Jim
it to
O'Connell?
everybody, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You did.
And
Got it.
another issue I have
Send it to you too, Mike.
is,
You're on my Concom list. I sent it to the group.
he already has it, he's already read it.
Did you not, wait a minute, 1 second, Betsy. Mike, did you not get the email I sent maybe a week or two ago?
I did.
Oh, you did?
He got
I
it, he's read it, he's read it already.
Oh, I didn't hear him.
I would like to have a vote of the board. We had issued a permit to the town for the Little Pond Oyster Project. And those of you
Oh, yeah.
who were involved at the time, or even if you weren't involved at the time, the order of conditions said that there would be data collected every 2 weeks, and we would get those data. But we have not gotten those data. In fact, after the first report, we haven't gotten any of them. And that was given with the condition, if we didn't get the data and we didn't get a report from them, there would be no second year of that project.
I'll have Mel send a letter to see, and I'm sure she'd be happy.
So I would like to have a vote of the board that we send a letter requesting the data and requesting, setting up a time to give us a report.
So moved.
Second, and I would reinforce, remind them of what the conditions are about renewing the project for another year.
Right.
And that the board will not approve it.
All in favor, so there's a vote and a second, a motion and second on the table to send this letter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Do we have a
You have something? Did you have something?
No.
No. Vote orders of conditions.
Madam Chairman?
Yes. My goodness.
I just wanted to ask one question.
Do you get credit from
Back to the
someone for
flood
asking?
zones?
Do you get credit for someone for asking?
No,
all
I'm
these?
just, there's a
Just
lot of
from us.
stuff
Stopped at Starbucks after dinner.
about the
I
floods.
think he did.
Which
Jack in the Box.
When you're
I think.
rewriting the regs, there's a couple things I'm wondering if you've considered. For instance, you have that rule about the Falmouth V zone, the 25-foot.
Mike, that's gonna be
That's
phase two
phase
that
two.
Betsy didn't let me tell you, is that this is just gonna be the part one that we're gonna fast track in the next couple of weeks. It's just the adoption of the maps.
Okay.
We're not changing any of the substantive language. Then, once we have the momentum of changing them and it's in everybody's mind, that's what I said, I want everybody to start thinking about, what kind of changes you'd want to see, the board would like to see in the regulations, what kind of revisions, new restrictions, relax the current restrictions.
What kind of mitigation could increase the
Mitigation.
resiliency of those areas?
Okay.
So that's gonna be part two, but you guys need to start thinking about that as
Yeah,
well.
you should start making a list.
Yeah, I've
You
been
have
thinking
one.
about for a while, so.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
things that we can have in like workshop discussions,
Right.
like we did with the
The
Buffer.
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 Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Good.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Glad you were here.
We will keep you fully involved, Mr. Porcelli, don't worry.
Appreciate it.
Vote orders of conditions, 10, 18, and 28 Cape Cotter Road.
All my stuff is actually downstairs, but Cape Cod was the big restoration project.
Right, and the big issue with that
The big
is,
issue is that you should put in a condition, because Teresa gave a very detailed presentation, that Blue Flax Design be the sole entity to implement the presentation that was presented to you.
Well-
You've done this in the past with Wilkinson Ecological on those big, large-scale
can we
coastal things.
specifically say that, or can we say,
No, I-
if? No,
it's
we
been-
have to say it's the contractor.
It's
that presented it.
specifically written
All right.
that the way the language is, it will be written that Blue Flax Design is the sole entity.
Well, okay, right.
The commission approves to implement the land management plan submitted by Blue Flax Design, dated
Right.
this.
Right.
That if that changes,
The commission reserves the right to review or approve, and I forget exactly how the language was crafted on the last one, and just cut and paste and change the names of the companies.
Yeah, but absolutely,
That
right.
you, if another contractor is chosen, you have the right to approve that contractor.
it's mandatory that we have,
And
Well, we
they have to give another
have to have a presentation.
And they have to. come
And
up
a
with
new
their own
order of
plan.
conditions.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, but other than that was a
Other
very
than that,
complete
there was the
presentation.
one thing about the path and how, the width of the path. And I remember Courtney talking about it and Tom talking about it, right?
yeah, just making it wide enough that they went with, I think they had
They went
on
with
here.
3 feet, I think?
Yeah, 4 foot.
4 feet.
I put down here 4 foot wide.
A 4
Yeah,
foot,
and
I
I
mean,
think she
that's,
had like a 3 foot wide
Yeah.
path
Correct.
or something.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, I knew that you wanted the path, yeah, 'cause that's
Make it-
ridiculous. 4
make it
foot wide
reasonable.
path. Okay. And other than that, I don't think there were any, other special conditions. There was a very comprehensive plan.
yeah, it'll be a nice, nice restoration. It'll be nice for the people there.
motion to accept the order with a caveat as described by the administrator.
Okay, motion and second on the table to approve the order as discussed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Oh, wait, your quorum for that was 4 of you. Betsy. Courtney,
Mike,
Mike,
Tom.
Tom.
Minot Beach West.
The beach committee would like to remove the underwater hazards and boulders within, right off the shore of Minot Beach. Bio-friendly fuels have to be used in whatever machinery is placed on the beach. Notification to staff that they, of the date and time that they are going to conduct this work. And, as Tommy had said, limit the work to the layout of that old,
Road.
Yep.
road in the
Yep.
picture, so.
Yep.
That we're not ripping out or taking out every rock or.
27 10-wheelers.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So, and it does need to be done, they are a hazard out there.
Yes, they are.
They absolutely are. They're big. When we did a couple of
time.
test holes on a couple of them while we were out there one day doing something else.
It's time for them to go.
Yep. Motion to accept the order as discussed.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. 350 West Falmouth Highway. That was just
Same
the planting.
form, and this is.
The house is smaller.
Bunkers project out in the DCPC, amending it, making it smaller, adjusting the mitigation planting to address the reduced footprint. You had approved it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mitigation plantings are on hers, but they are working within the three-party condo unit to put the plantings in the common area.
And it
Close
was
to the
historical, or
wetlands.
somebody else that gave her a hard time. That's why she ended up making it smaller.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the project as discussed.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
If I may, Madam Chair,
Up.
there was a, this was in
Yeah. Did
the,
you see the picture? Did you get,
well, I've
you see the
seen,
picture?
yeah, I've seen issues like this. For the,
Put those in your packet.
yeah, for the people at home, it describes what happened down in Chatham by a homeowner who took a machine on the dune and in the wetlands and all kinds of happy crap.
And left
And,
it in for a couple of title cycles.
Yeah, so, you know, we're not the only ones that have people that do things they shouldn't. And they were very aggressive at the fines and everything like that. If people thought we were aggressive in a certain situation that we have in town here,
Believe me, we're following this closely.
yeah, this
It's
is,
difficult, this is not as simple a process as you might like to
some would
believe.
like to think, but
But you can believe that we are following this because we are actually ramping up our
would be,
enforcements again.
it would be a good thing for people at home to realize that the eyes of the world are upon you, particularly when you're trying to do something that isn't the brightest thing to do.
I think, what was it, a $3,500 a day fine?
$3,300 a day and a whole bunch of headache. You know, it's not worth it. Do the,
Did you see the picture, Courtney? The Bobcat, the tracks are completely sunk, all you can see is the cab of the Bobcat.
Yeah, it's just a little bump in the
I never
marsh.
saw the pictures.
it's not good.
I feel bad for the cat.
That's it. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
We'll check on
Unanimous, so
your,
moved.